Hi everyone, I'm Hoodie Angel Brandon, and look who finally mastered the Shadow Clone Jutsu. Today we are here with Ninja Corrin, ready to build him. He has finally completed his ninja training and he's ready to take to the battlefield and put what he's learned into practice. So earlier we managed to summon 11 copies of him off the ninja banner for the plus 10, so we're just going to build him up and test him out. I'm very excited for it. I've needed a infantry lance for a long time, and it was very fortunate that we finally got one that was accessible and a character that I really liked. I would have liked to have like maybe Dimitri, but all his versions that are infantry lance are 5-star exclusive. And then there were some other characters I was considering, like Norn, though I still might build her later. But getting one of my favorite characters with male Corrin here, it just seemed very perfect fit for me. Very excited to have a nice little blue version of him that'll be pretty useful. So here they all are. Down here we have the plus speed Corrin that we will be using as Corrin Prime. I've already maxed out his SP and his HM so that we can get started on building him. We've just got to promote these 4-star Corrins and then get to merging. But I guess we can remove all the favorites off of them. Naturally, being a pretty speedy unit, wanted to stack that speed for him so that he can put all that to use and double some foes. Though with his base weapon, he does get those guaranteed doubles, it's still helpful for the speed check. And speed is just always going up, so stacking a little extra speed on him is pretty good in my opinion. So now we can start promoting these Corrins. I actually just spent a bunch of feathers on Kaze, and now I'm back up to 900,000, so it's nice to spend some of these before we hit the cap again. The plus attack one there, also kind of tempting since he does have that super asset, but I think that speed is just better. If I ever get an Ascendant Flore for him, then I'd probably give him the plus attack. So there we go. Now we have 11 5-star Corrins ready to merge and become a mighty ninja in his own right. Though he has not spent his whole life in dedication to the ninja arts as Kaze has, I'm certain that Corrin will not disappoint us. Alright, so we're just going to start merging these in for the plus 10. Pass on all your strength to our main boy here. He's very adorable. I still really like this alt. I do prefer more serious alts like this that look like things that the characters would actually wear on the battlefield to things like swimsuits and Easter bunnies. So I'm very happy that Corrin got a really nice looking alt that's like just perfect for my tastes. Just like his New Year's version, which is another one of my favorite seasonals. So yes, I'm still just very pleased with this Corrin alt, even without having used him extensively for combat, because I have been waiting to actually fully build him until now. Plus 9. And plus 10. He has reached perfection. So even though I waited to merge until now and to inherit skills, he's still got only his base kit. I have done a few things for him already. Of course, we already supported him with Kaze during Kaze's showcase, and I've already blessed him for water just for thematic reasons, although one of the builds I think could be pretty solid for AR, so maybe I'll end up switching him to Astra or Light like his other versions here, which are blessed for Astra season. He might end up joining them, I'm not sure yet. One thing I didn't do though is give him dragon flowers, so we can just go ahead and give him some flowers to just raise his stats ever higher. There we go. Pretty respectable stats considering the Ninja Naginata, being a brave weapon, doesn't have as high of might. He's still rocking a very solid attack. Pretty respectable speed considering we also can't refine it. And his defenses aren't terrible either. And for accessories, it's always hard to pick. I was looking at some of these. I thought it'd be kind of funny to run the Draconic Mask, but it looks a little weird. Could also run the Hoshiden hat. Just a headband, although I kind of don't like how it goes over his bangs. Which is why I was thinking about the white version of the Chonsen band, so he could match with Kaze, but I kind of don't like how that looks actually. It just looks a little awkward on him. One of the wing hairpins would be kind of simple, but still kind of nice. But I actually kind of like the new assassin mask that just came out. I think that's kind of fitting. So we'll go ahead and give him that for now at least. Might change that later. And now we are going to begin inheriting skills for him so that he can improve his ninja arsenal. And while a lot of my fodder is saved for other units, I did manage to find some interesting stuff for him that I had extras laying around. Unfortunately, a lot of builds these days are starting to feel a little samey. And I think that's just because we keep getting like very similar skills, like they put attack speed push on so many units and then spurn on a lot more units, and then you pull those skills and you have those sitting around, and then when you get a unit that you want to build, you have those to work with, and so that's what you have and that's what you use. So it's a little unfortunate, but we just got to make the most of what we have and try and make some interesting builds with them. But we are going to start by giving him a new lance. Even though the Ninja Naginata is really solid, I do want to have a slaying lance as a backup weapon, since this one is a player phase oriented weapon, it would be nice to have a more general weapon as well, just as a fallback option in case he needs to do some enemy phase tanking or anything like that. I was actually looking at some of the other newer inheritable lances, and there are a lot of interesting ones, but they all kind of feel similar with the same +5 attack defense buff, and then like an effect like negate enemy buffs or negate unit penalties. They all weirdly kind of have the same +5 attack def, which is a little weird and a little boring. Wish there were more interesting inheritable lances like that increased like speed or something. But I guess maybe those would be a little too powerful with damage reduction, so that's why we don't get those. But it's just kind of interesting how we've been getting a lot of seasonal lances like that. And then we've been getting non-seasonal versions of those lances, so we have like over 6 lances that do very similar things with that +5 attack defense. And then there's seasonal and non-seasonal versions. It's just kind of funny how many of those there are now. While we're here, we're also going to just go ahead and grab Desperation for him. Even though he's got Special Spiral and he's going to have some other B-slot options, Desperation's just always solid to have, you know. Of course, we need our favorite Reposition and Wings of Mercy combo from Merlinus. A very useful ninja trick to warp in and assist allies take out key threats. And on that note, we'll go ahead and grab the inverse while we're at it. Just grab Escape Route so that he can make a hasty retreat if necessary. And while we're at it, we'll go ahead and grab some backup assist skills like Swap, and we'll just go ahead and grab Brazen while we're at it. Even though I think he'll have better A-slot options, it's still nice to have options on the table. And we'll grab Drawback and Speed Smoke, even though I think he'll probably get paired with like Kaze pretty commonly. so Kaze could potentially provide speed debuffs. Still wouldn't be bad to have Corrin with the ability to provide it himself, in case Kaze wants to run Pulse Smoke and say Speed Def solo. As always, one of my favorite specials, Aether. And of course, Gale Force. Funny enough, we could, I guess, get the Brave Lance, though I can't think of any reason I would want that over the Ninja Naginata, so I'm just gonna pass on it. As funny as it would be, I just can't think of any reason I would want lower speed with that. And we don't really need it, but I'm going to grab Hit and Run. Similar to Escape Route, it can let him escape in a pinch. I was actually thinking for damage reduction, Close Call would probably be my first pick for him, but I don't have any on hand, so we'll have to make do without it. But maybe in the future, if I get a copy and no one else wants it, he might be able to use it. Ninja Art Poison Smoke from Big Sis. Always helpful to have some support skills. Get our drives. Attack, Speed, Def, and don't forget Res. After all, even though he's a ninja now, he's still my supportive boy at the end of the day. And I mentioned the interesting idea that I saw earlier where someone suggested running Flashing Blade to stack true damage with Flashing Blade 4 and his weapon. And that seemed interesting to me, so I still want to try that. Although theoretically he shouldn't have issues quadding enemies, so it may seem a little redundant to run something that could charge Gale Force that fast. There are a lot of issues with that, like potentially he could overkill an enemy so he only gets off 2 hits anyway, especially against a squishier unit, or an enemy might have a guard effect like Special Fighter or something. So being able to just guarantee Gale Force with Flashing Blade 4 could still be useful, and perhaps more importantly, he can pick up Flashing Blade 4 as a throw-in with null follow-up. If it was just Flashing Blade 4, I'm not sure if I'd bother trying this build, but since he's getting null follow-up with it, which I think is pretty important as an option for him, I think it's okay to grab that as well. Next, we are going to grab Attack Speed Push from Petrine. There we go. Give him another offensive A-slot option in case Flashing Blade 4 is not very helpful. He might need more attack speed just for stat checks and things like that. So having a more offensive option doesn't hurt. Could also combo with like Desperation if necessary. And I considered giving him Attack Speed Push 4 and Even Tempest from Dagger. I thought that'd be kind of interesting, but I do think I'd rather save Even Tempest for, say, a flyer unit who might be able to use it to move further while ignoring terrain. That could be a little more useful, I think. Though it is an interesting option. Instead, we're going to use this Malice that I got, and we're going to use her to grab Attack Speed Push 4 and Spurn. Again, I think Close Call would have been my preferred method of damage reduction. This one doesn't really do anything if you're running Gale Force, and I would have liked the movement from Close Call, but it still gives him some tanking potential and some extra power, which gives him the potential to run more of a duelist set and more enemy-faced sets. And finally, because I just can't help spoiling this boy, we're going to go ahead and grab Distant Counter and Times Pulse. Times Pulse will give him a 4 cooldown Gale Force or Aether, letting him start with something pretty consistent and then just charge it super fast with his Flashing Blade and Ninja Naginata. It may seem like overkill, but again, I really like having the consistency, and I mean, no one else is using it, so I'm gonna spoil him. There you go, baby boy. Oh, you deserve it. So I said that I didn't have a close call to fodder to Corrin, but it turns out I did. I had Marita sitting in the reserve barracks. Oops, too late now. So now he has a lot of skills, perhaps an excessive number of skills, but I do want to try a few different builds for him because I'm not entirely sure how I want to play him. And again, I just love him and he deserves to be spoiled a little, so that's fine. He'll fit in with his other Corrin versions who are also very spoiled, and they can make a wonderful arena cheerleader squad. I finally have done it. I've got a arena core in. The full arena Corrin cheerleader team is ready to go, and we're going to start by grabbing this killer lance, and then we'll go and just refine it real quick so that we can get the slaying lance plus, and we're going to speed refine that, of course, just to give him more speed. Again, this is he'll probably run his base ninja naginata more often, but this gives him an option for more mixed or enemy phase oriented builds, and it does give him just a slight speed increase, pushing him even higher up. I was actually thinking he might want the Ninja Yari from Navarre, but I already gave him Flashing Blade 4, and I didn't want to summon for it. But that would have been interesting as well because it would have given him a flat speed buff as well. Now with that out of the way, we're going to just start learning all these skills, and we'll be back when he has committed all these ninja techniques to memory.
So real quick, I had an idea. I was thinking we could give Corrin Stout Lance. I had an idea on how to use this. So we're going to fodder 2 of these Roshas here. I did want to kind of maybe save them in case I ever wanted to build him because he is kind of cute, but this is a worthy sacrifice, I feel, just to improve Corrin. And so real quick, we're just going to come over here and refine it for speed. And now that's another option that we have. And there we go.
All right. Having finished his training, Corrin is ready to prepare for his future missions. He's learned everything, and now we're going to make some builds. I have 2 builds for him. They're not the most mind-blowingly unique builds, but they should be effective, which is probably a bit more important, especially given the amount of fodder we threw at him. I actually had an idea for a 3rd set that was kind of a mix between these 2, but it looked so similar that I ended up scrapping it. I feel like it would just be kind of redundant. We can just modify one of these 2 builds to get kind of similar effects based off specific situations. It wasn't really worth making its own full set. So to start, we are going to build a offensive set. I have it labeled as a Gale Force set, but he could definitely take a different special and run more of a offensive duelist initiator type build. And to start, we are going to run his base Ninja Naginata. Pretty solid weapon, has the Brave effect, and also deals some true damage, which doesn't look like a lot, but if he's hitting that speed check consistently, he should be quadding, so it can stack up pretty nicely with I think up to 16 bonus damage if he actually hits all 4 of them. So that can definitely add up over time. And it does make him a little different from my other Gale Forcers, allowing him to be a quad Gale Forcer to tear through some of the super bulky units. So it's not quite the same as like Byleth or Seteth. And they're also unique. Byleth has that null guard effect, so he'll be triggering his Gale Force pretty consistently. Seteth has the flying movement. So even though all of them are running Gale Force, they should all feel at least a little bit unique. For the assist, as always, lots of options. Swap, drawback, reposition. Reposition's kind of the go-to gold standard. Swap is good for tight spaces, but I kind of like drawback because he can rush in, attack someone, and then use drawback on an ally to pull himself out of danger for a more hit-and-run style of play, if he doesn't want to fully commit with that second attack of the Gale Force and go even deeper and attack more units. Gives him a little bit of a extra safety precaution, I suppose. And next, for the Gale Force build, we do need Gale Force. But again, he could run different special. In particular, he's actually got pretty solid defense, so something like Bonfire could work. Though he does have Draconic Aura by default. I don't think it's actually great on him. I get it's thematic, but I really think they should have just gave him Bonfire. For the A slot, lots of options. Of course, his native Swift Sparrow could be good. Brazen Attack Speed could be helpful for longer engagements. Attack Speed Push is solid if he needs to hit specific checks, or just to get a little bit of extra stats right off the bat. But I think Flashing Blade 4 will be best for him for this build as the general option. It might seem a little redundant due to having the Ninja Naginata to quad pretty often, but this does help him charge his special even against guard effects, and also in case he kills too early, he would still trigger the Gale Force. For example, against some squishier mages, if he only gets in 2 attacks, he would still have 4 charges on his Gale Force. So I think it's just a nice consistency option, but it also has the +5 damage per attack, which should stack with his weapon so that he would be getting up to an additional +20 if he hit all 4 attacks and didn't actually kill his enemy before then. So it would help improve his damage quite a bit when combined with the Ninja Naginata, which could be helpful since it is a lower might weapon, so his attack is suffering a little bit because of that. Just kind of gives him a little bit of extra consistency in his damage output, as well as getting his Gale Force to proc. For the B slot, he can take Hit and Run for that more hit and run style playstyle. I actually did want to get Close Call for him as a damage reduction choice, but I forgot that my Marita was in the fodder boxes, and I just forgot that I had her, so oops. Maybe I'll still give it to him eventually, I'm not sure. But he also could take Wings of Mercy to be a Gale Force cleanup unit. Just swoop in the middle of a Gale Force chain and start wreaking havoc. Escape route, kind of similar. Could be good if he wants to initiate with his Gale Force and then bounce out of harm's way. Could also be useful for some abyssal maps if he needs to move to different places on the map over the course of a longer battle where he's taking more damage. Desperation is tried and true, gives him more consistency if he ends up dipping below that HP threshold. And then his native special spiral's pretty solid, but not for Gale Force, of course. Would be better if he's running something like Bonfire, but could be good if he's running something like Bonfire and running like Attack Speed Push to still give him a pretty consistent special. I'm not the biggest fan of the skill, but could definitely work. But I think for general use, his most consistent option is Null Follow-Up, which will help guarantee those quads to just help ensure that he's getting in all that damage. And then in the C slot, as always, lots of options. Savage Blow could be helpful since he's going to be initiating most of the time for the Ninja Naginata effect. Just splash some extra damage everywhere. Just a funny ninja smoke skill. Could definitely have use. He's also got the drives, always nice to have as supportive utility. Distant Guard, kind of similar thing if he needs allies to tank ranged units specifically. Speed Smoke to drop debuffs on the enemy. Could definitely be useful to attack an enemy, trigger his Gale Force, drop the Speed Smoke, and then attack a faster unit who's now been weakened so that he can reliably trigger his Flashing Blade. And then finally, Time's Pulse gives him a very consistent Gale Force, starting at 4 cooldown, and then pretty much guaranteeing that it's going to go off if he quads anyone between Flashing Blade and then his actual normal attacks. Even Guard won't stop him, even if it was like a super bulky mage who didn't counterattack him, he'd still get it to go off. Just improves consistency. He does have those other options, but having that consistency is nice. And then finally in the seal slot, lots of options, but I think for this particular build we definitely want something that bumps up his attack and speed a bit. Life and Death could be pretty solid. Swift Sparrow too if he wants to preserve his bulk a little bit. Really anything that's bumping up his attack and speed to help him hit that speed check and do a little extra damage could be useful. Even a Brazen, though it won't be active right away. If he's running attack speed push, he could again take Flashing Blade in the seal slot. Attack speed bond could be useful if he's using Wings of Mercy or even Escape Route. But for general use, I think we want attack speed solo just to get a pretty consistent buff. We do have to be a little mindful of positioning, but I don't think it should be that much of an issue since he should be the one initiating, so he should have the chance to kind of make sure that he's set up to get those buffs. So, fairly standard Gale Force set, but again, could be kind of swapped over some things like Special Spiral and Attack Speed Push and Bonfire to make more of an offensive build that isn't as hyper offensive as Gale Force, more of a duelist build. And for set 2, we're going to go the opposite direction and make something a bit more defense oriented. I very much hesitated on this because I am still considering like Summer Norn, who I wanted to be a defensive lance, but I had some ideas on how to differentiate the two. In particular, I wanted to save some of those lances that like ignore unit penalties or enemy buffs for her, so that she could kind of play around with just nullifying various stat changes. So she would have kind of that niche, while Corrin would be more generally defensive, and also he could run null follow-up over like Spurn, which she would probably also be running, which would give him another kind of niche in being a tank that kind of negates enemy follow-ups and things like that. So could still run a somewhat unique defensive build even if they look a little similar. So since I wanted to save some of those lances for Norn or anyone else in the future, I didn't give Corrin a ton of options in that regard. Slaying Lance, always fairly consistent for like Aether to give it a 4 cooldown, or even if he wants to run something like Noontime or Soul or Bonfire and have it be a little cheaper, could definitely work. Ninja Naginata unfortunately only really works if you're initiating, so it's not really great for a defensive build, though I guess it could still function somewhat on a mixed set. But what I think is actually going to be helpful for him is Stout Lance, which seems a little redundant since he does have like 49 base speed, which is really solid, but if he's running Spurn, then he won't be able to use null follow-up in that case. So anything that could make a guaranteed follow-up attack would suddenly be getting that and hitting him harder. And also anything that would outspeed him naturally will have that first hit reduced, which kind of makes up for not getting the damage reduction from Spurn. Help improve his survivability there. So the idea is basically that even if he's running Spurn, no matter what, if you outspeed him or not, your damage is going to be reduced and it's going to help him survive a little better. Pretty gimmicky, but I thought it was at least something interesting and worth trying out. As always, we have our choice for a positional assist. We'll go reposition on this one. For his special, we'll take Aether, but could definitely run something else, lower cooldown, like Soul or Noontime, or just like Bonfire for more burst damage. For his A slot, we're going to take Distant Counter so he can counterattack at range. I think Brave Marth's A slot would actually be better because it would still give him that speed to help him make that speed check for his damage reduction. But we don't have that, so for now we'll have to use Distant Counter. But that would be a more optimal choice just because he is opening himself up to getting doubled more easily by super fast units since he isn't running speed boosting A slot. But he could also take attack speed push if he doesn't need to counter ranged units specifically, like if we eventually get a far tank and can have them cover for him, or if like we have Xander who's tanking ranged threats for him, for example. Definitely another option. In the B slot, we are going to take Spurn, but again, he could definitely run Null Follow-Up to make a tank that kind of ignores enemy follow-up attacks and things that prevent his follow-up attack. So would be a little bit of a different tank in that regard, but Spurn will give him the most defensive utility. Honestly, his base defense is not terrible, and even his res isn't shockingly bad, so he could probably get away with dropping Spurn, especially if he's got healer support from like Sakura or Forest. Sakura in particular could help by providing heals, infantry flash support, so that he could have access to his specials more consistently, and also turn off enemy specials with Witchy Wand. So a lot of synergy there, for example. And then again, C slot flexible. I'm thinking we should actually take Speed Smoke on this one just to help trigger Spurn more comfortably, though Time's Pulse would probably be another solid choice to give him a 4 cooldown Aether for some more consistency. And for the seal, as always, we have a lot of options. We could take a stance skill like Darting Stance to just bump up his speed for the Spurn check, or Kestrel or Swift Stance to round out his bulk and offenses a little bit more, while still getting that speed bump. Steady Breath could give him more consistent specials. Similarly, we could take Flashing Blade for that. Close and Distant Guard if we need to tank specific things, or even Brazen. Bonds and Form skills could definitely work, or we could even take like Mystic Boost to give him a little more healing when Aether is not up and activated. But for now I want to go with Swift Stance. It does give less stats, but it is a bit easier to consistently trigger compared to something like a Form skill or even a Bond. Not that those are terribly difficult, but this is just very simple, very easy, and no one else is using it. But definitely lots of other options as the situation demands for this. So this is a pretty gimmicky but kind of cool niche that that just kind of guarantees that no matter what, if he gets doubled, if he doesn't get doubled, we're reducing some damage. Not sure how well the Stout Lance will actually work out, but again, if it doesn't really help us, we can definitely take a Slaying Lance or maybe some other lance in the future. But for now, that's just a fairly simple tank setup. So we'll just go ahead and save that. And now we go test. So for our team, we are going to have Corrin use the Shadow Clone Jutsu and bring in Corrin and Corrin to support himself. They are running their standard support builds. Regular Corrin supporting with his Ruse, his Rally, and his Drives. We actually could take Infantry Breath to give him more consistency, especially on that tank set. But I'm trying not to rely too much on the support, honestly, because I feel bad when I use too much support in these showcases, because I feel like I should be showing the unit itself, not all the support stuff. Fairly easy to just make a big ball of stats by just stacking stuff on a unit, so try and avoid that, but we are still bringing them just in case to help. New Year's Corrin also running his triple close guard build with Fiddlestick Bow and then his Ruse and Rally. And he also has Deadeye to help with some damage reduction in a pinch, but hopefully it won't be needed. It's not the most consistent thing with this particular build. And then finally we will bring Kaze to see how well Corrin has mastered his ninja arts. Kaze is running his Grand Master set, so he can help initiate if necessary, take out some key threats while also providing support with his dagger and Pulse Smoke. I actually did consider Guard Lance for the tank Corrin set, but I decided that since he'll probably commonly be paired with Kaze, and then like Sakura also has Witchy Wand, Byleth even has Pulse Smoke, that it would feel a little redundant, so I decided to not take that but it would have definitely been an option. And we also could bring Sakura, honestly. Again, she has pretty good synergy with Infantry Flash, Witchy Wand, and then Healing, particularly for that tank set. But this is what we'll run with. Try not to just load him up with too much support. Alright, to start, we are testing the offensive build. So we're here in Arena Assault, and we're just going to see how it does. So we got Miranda, Leaf, George, and Itsuki. Alright, so I think we want to just move like so, let them come to us. Alright, so pull back a little bit more, and we're going to try and get Leaf first. There we go. And we're going to come over and hit him twice. Thanks to Time Pulse, we have our Gale Force at 4, so Flashing Blade lets us instantly trigger it off of the first 2 attacks. Don't need to get that quad, which is good because we did overkill. We could go in and attack, but we're going to take a lot of damage if we do. So we're going to just pull back. We wouldn't be able to pull him back. So we'll just play it a bit slower, more cautiously with a hit and run type style. Okay. So George is troublesome, but alright, we could do that. No, that won't work. Okay, so we're going to have Corrin attack Itsuki. There we go. Once again, trigger that Gale Force. See, having that that Time Pulse and Flashing Blade is making him a lot more consistent with his Gale Force triggers. Next, we'll have Kaze take out Miranda. And down she goes. Bam. And now Corrin can come in and finish off George. Take him down. Bam. And attack number 3. Down he goes. So there we go. Yeah, fairly simple. Not the most mind-blowing build by any means, but it's very effective, as we can see here. Got the job done very nicely. We didn't even need the support from the other Corrins. Honestly, even Kaze, even if he wasn't dropping debuffs or pulse smoke or anything like that, Corrin still had the job handled, so very effective. The quad was especially nice for George, who was a bit tankier. Pretty pleased with that. Worked pretty well. So next we are testing the tank setup. Still not as sold on this one. Kind of gimmicky, but I do still kind of like the idea of having Stout Lance to reduce damage from super fast enemies and Spurn for slower units. Could be kind of interesting. Let's just go ahead and test this double damage reduction set out. And right off the bat, we do have young Innis, who will be troublesome since his bow just ignores our damage reduction altogether. Not what I wanted to see, but hopefully we can at least bait down Tana. She's doing a good chunk, actually. Reduce it, Corrin. There we go. And down she goes. Now we got Tiki gonna be moving closer. That's fine, I suppose. Alright. Go ahead and just pass. Yep. Alright, so I'm going to drop a ruse, and then we'll pass. Debuff Plumeria a little and bait her down. Reduce that, and follow up, take her down and charge up our Aether. And we don't want to move up because that'll just put us next to Innis. And we don't want to attack into her because that'll trigger her Vengeful Fighter. Let's just go ahead and drop another ruse and pass. Okay, she attacks. and reduce that, and we'll hit her with the Aether and heal ourselves up. See that awesome special art that unfortunately we don't get to see with the Gale Force build. Really wish there was an option to turn on special art for those, but now we don't want to be here because Innis on the defense tile is spooky, so get off the defense tile, mister. And now we can do a bit more. Drop that, still not doubling. He is fairly fast. Attack speed plus 60 unit. Okay. So we'll hit him again, drop him, and now we can take him out. Go get him, Corrin. There we go. So we had to rely on our support a little more than I would have liked, but the build does work. Definitely could use some work, though. I do still kind of like that double damage reduction concept, but the Aether is just a little too slow, I think. Maybe just go Mystic Boost or run Soul, but then we're losing a lot of damage, so maybe like Bonfire with Mystic Boost would be better, but then we're losing speed. Not sure. It's kind of all over the place. Might need to focus it. Again, getting like Legendary Marth's A skill could help a lot. We'll have to see. Bonus feature. Since I thought that was a little boring, here's Corrin going Gale Force ham on a bunch of units. Sometimes he used buffs. Don't call me a cheater. But that is our Ninja Corrin showcase. He has demonstrated himself admirably. Even if this build is not my personal favorite, it is still interesting and gives him some different possibilities to run for specific maps, different tools for different missions, I suppose. But I did really like this Gale Force build. Just very funny to see him go forth and probably tear up a lot of stuff with quads. The Time Pulse and Flashing Blade 4 makes him pretty dang consistent, especially since he's guaranteed to hit at least twice. Pretty solid. Liked this one a lot. The defense build really was more just a result of getting DC as a throw-in for Time Pulse and Spurn as a throw-in for getting attack speed push. So I'm not as stressed if that build doesn't end up seeing as much use, but pretty pleased with this one. Very happy to see lovely builds for the lovely boy. And I have now finally completed my arena core of all cheerleading Corrins. Perhaps it seems a little weird to consider Ninja Corrin a cheerleader with a build like this. But I feel like the arena meta has shifted a bit. Nowadays, I prefer running a dedicated support unit like regular Corrin, the bonus unit, of course, and then at least one full offense unit like Ninja Corrin or Byleth. So he actually does kind of fit in well there. While the other Corrins can help the bonus unit get their kills, he can go ahead and take care of bad matchups for them, especially if it's someone like Anna who has to worry about reds. He can still support in his own way, and that's the justification we're going with. So anyway, thank you guys as always so much for watching and joining me while I work on Ninja Corrin. He might still need some work here and there, but I'm overall pretty pleased with him. I apologize if these were not the most interesting and exciting builds out there, but this is what we had to work with. So anyway, until next time, this is Hoodie Angel Brandon and the Corrin cheerleading squad signing out.